Om Gati Gati Paragati Parasamgati Bodhisvatyata Om Gati Gati Paragati Parasamgati Bodhisvatyata Om Gati Gati Paragati Parasamgati Bodhisvatyata Om Gati Gati Paragati Parasamgati Bodhisvaha. Okay. To continue from page 29, under the 6 root afflictions. Number 2 is attachment, and number 3 is anger, wanting to be separated from someone or something. And this can lead to relentless desire to hurt others, and eventually it causes unhappiness within oneself. Okay, this is anger. And keep in mind that the first three, they are oftentimes referred to as the three poisons of the mind, three poisonous mental factors. Oftentimes, in the context of the practice, Dharma practice, when there's mention of the three poisons of the mind, always refer to the first three afflictions, the root afflictions: ignorance, attachment, and anger. So why these three? Why these three is quite an important thing for us to know. Say, what is your reaction? So basically, the afflictions is more like the negative. Number 2, it's interaction with it's reaction, I should say. The reaction the mind that the mind engages with. The mind engages with when it encounters with the object. So what kind of reaction? Reaction, it can be 3. Reaction, the destructive emotions. How they react with the object can be 3. So on that basis, the 3 poisons, they are referred to as the 3 poisons. How? The 3 reactions in general would be, say for example, if we first encounter with the flower, then it doesn't guarantee that simply because of you encountered the flower, it doesn't guarantee that you will feel attached, you will be pulled by the object, which is attachment, or you are pushed by the object, which is aversion, or neutral, not pushed, not pushed or not pulled. So these are the 3 possibilities. Either you are going to be attracted by the object, which is pulled, or you're going to be pushed by the object, which is aversion, or neutral. I don't care, it doesn't matter. So there's a flower there, that's it. You want it? Okay, it's fine. You don't want it, it's fine. So you have no special affinity or aversion to the object. That is neutral. So these are the 3 possibilities as to how our mind can react to the object. Now, when does it become afflictive? One, that you see the object as, say, in the dream. Let's say the dream example. In the dream, you are in your bed, then you create your dream. You create a dream of being in a garden. You start dreaming of a garden. Then in the garden, you see a beautiful, say, rose flower, fresh rose flower. So there, you first interact with the 5 omnipresent mental factors. It's amazing. You first, in the dream, you get a feeling that I come in contact with the object. Then you pay attention to this. Then you discern it, that it is a rose flower, freshly blossomed rose flower, discrimination happens. Then, say, for some people, a pleasant feelings arise. For other people, aversion, say, unpleasant feeling may arise for other people, for others. And still others, neutral. This is on the feeling level. Then on that basis, then what happens before the actual intention? Before the actual intention, then I want it, I don't want it, I don't care. Three things happen. I want it, I don't want it, I don't want it is attachment, I don't want it is aversion, and then the other one is neutral. So that neutral, with attachment, there's a problem. There's a problem. With aversion, there's a problem. This is obvious. So basically, your mind, what happens is that now look, because this is a very, say, specialized class, I'm specifying this. Why? When the mind is pulled by seeing the dream flower as the real flower, and then you feel attached to this, what's the problem? When you are pushed by, you see that as very repulsive. You're pushed by this. What's the problem? The problem is that in both cases, you have lost the freedom. Where, if you wake up from the sleep, the pull and the push of the dream flower as the real flower, that will stop. And your mind is at rest. Your mind is in your hand. You have your own time. Whereas in the dream, seeing this as real flower, as a beautiful flower, then your mind is pulled. Where otherwise you can have a very relaxed state of mind. Now you are busy. You have lost the freedom from remaining peaceful and pleasant. And likewise the push. So there, the thing is that with the pull and push, you have lost the freedom. Loss of freedom is misery. This is the problem. Now, what is with the third problem? How is there a problem with the third one? Where you are not being pulled, you're not being pushed, which is, you see, but you continue to see the dream flower as a real flower. You may not be interested in it. You may not be attached to it. You may not be averse to it. But still, there is a problem there. What's the problem? Misconception is there. Seeing the dream flower as a real flower. This is ignorance. So this ignorance, in one way it is bad, is that it solidifies the object there. That the dream flower is solidified as the real flower. Then because that you solidify this, who is solidifying this? Your mind is solidifying this. So your mind otherwise could have remained very peaceful state, but your mind is becoming busy to solidify that as a real flower. So this is the extra work. This is misconception. This is extra work. So from that point of view, again you see that you don't have the peace, because your mind, instead of remaining peace, you see the dream flower as a real flower. So that seeing dream flower as a real flower, misconception, is coming from your mind. This is extra unnecessary engagement. That again we see that there's a loss of the freedom, because your mind, where do you see the flower there? Where do you see the flower? It's not the dream flower, it's the real flower there. Again, your mind is somehow glued to the object, not as pulled, but glued, connected as an object and subject. That is created. Okay, so this is the ignorance. So there, although the pull and push, it is not there, but the ignorance is there. So that ignorance, which does not allow your mind to remain at peace, but see, there's a real flower there. That's the problem. So we see that these three things, involuntary pull by the object, involuntary push by the object, pull by the object is attachment, push by the object is aversion or anger, and then not pull and push by, but still see it as objectively real, so solidly real, that is ignorance. If pull and push is not happening, then ignorance continues. So these three somehow our mind somehow is always driven under these three mental emotions. All afflictions somehow, they are of one of these three natures. We will not say that all afflictions are one of these three. No. All the afflictions somehow should be of the nature of one of these three. Nature of one of these three, and these three are different. For example, I have the nature of the physical body. I have the nature of the mind. Because I think. I have the nature of the physical body. Because my body has a sickness, aging, death, and so forth. But I'm not the physical body. I'm not the mind. I have the nature of the mind. I have the nature of the physical body. Likewise, all the other afflictions, they have the nature of one of these three poisons: attachment, aversion, or ignorance. But they may not be. They being ignorance and being a nature of ignorance, these two are different. They being attached, something is attachment and something is the nature of attachment, these two are different. Okay, so now the next one is pride. Pride, number 4. Pride. Inflated superiority, supported by one's worldly views, which include disrespect to others. It is of 7 kinds. Okay, pride, the inflation, feeling of the inflation, superiority, the arrogance, the haughtiness, and so forth. Okay, so the pride. So the pride, if we understand the pride in the division, the 7 divisions, it will become clearer. Same, the first one is, the first letters note down, where the 7 are, note down. First one is pride. Pride as the main headline and a pride as the subset of the pride. These two are different. First one is pride. Number 2 is the pride of superiority. Pride of superiority. Number 3 is the extreme pride. Number 4 is the pride of the ego. The pride of the ego. Or egoistic pride. Egoistic pride. Well, this is number 4. Then the number 5 is, say, the empty pride. Empty pride. Then number 6 is, okay, pride of inferiority. Inferiority. Pride of inferiority. Okay, how many? 6. What are they? The pride of superiority, extreme pride, egoistic pride, empty pride, pride of inferiority. Okay, I'll explain. Okay. Okay, the 7th one is the lopeng again, is the wrong view pride, the pride of wrong view. Okay, so what is the first one? Pride. What is the second one? What is the third one? Extreme pride. Okay, so these 3 are with respect to the pride means I'm great. When you say I'm great, greatness is a relative phenomena. So relative to whom is the question. Relative to whom this question. So there are 3 different people. Relative to inferior person, relative to equal, relative to superior. Right? Same with inferior, just ignore, just no one. He or she is no one. So that ego, that is known as the first one, the pride. The pride as a subset of the main set, the pride, the subset pride, that is the pride with respect to inferior person. Person who is inferior to you with respect to whatever qualities that you might have. 1. Number 2 is, what is number 2? Pride of superiority. That is with respect to the equal. Equal, you think that I'm superior than this person. In actuality, it is not. You are just equal, but you think that I'm superior to this person. Again, with respect to wealth, with respect to education, with respect to this, that, or whatever, right? Number 2. Number 3 is pride Extreme pride, meaning the pride with respect to who is superior to you, who is more knowledgeable, so whatever the qualities. So someone who is better than you, and still you think the opposite. You think that I'm superior. This is the pride, the extreme pride. This is too extreme, right? What is number 4?
Pride of ego.
Egoistic pride or the pride of ego. This is okay. These are all. Keep in mind again. These are all the English words we borrowed from another culture. So, but we need to know what the 7 prides are, and these are the labels that we are using. We have to know the content. We have to know the subject, the reference. The reference we have to know what exactly they mean. Which of them is within us? Which of them within us is more predominant and harms me? And then see how much we can eradicate that. Okay, so what is next? Pride of ego, egoistic pride. So that is seeing what is really here. If there is something there within me, is the 5 aggregates. If there is something within me, say, I grab this water, it is my hand, which is the physical form. And physical form is not me. And then, say, as I talk to you, I'm thinking. So this thought is my mind, it's not me. In actuality, what is really there, if there is something there, is the 5 aggregates. 5 aggregates. And beyond these 5 aggregates, nothing is really there. For example, the table, the top plank and the 4 legs, that's it. Beyond these things, there's nothing there as a table. And our mind construct a concept, a table, which is not the top plank, which is not the 4 legs, and something is a table, and something very distinct. Likewise, we construct a sense of self, I, on the basis of this physical body and the mind. So, dividing the mind into 4 aggregates, then the 5 aggregates. Aggregate of form, aggregate of feeling, what else? Aggregate of discrimination. Okay, there are so many 5, right? Don't just mix them all up, thinking that there's only one 5. There are so many 5s. Okay, what are the 5 aggregates? Aggregate of form, feeling, discrimination, competent factors, and consciousness. Very good. Okay, so if there is something there, there's none other than the 5 aggregates. And beyond, more than the 5 aggregates, there's nothing there as the I. Yet this misconception, the ignorance, which conceives a solid I as something very distinct from these 5 aggregates. So conceiving a sense of I which is so substantially real, which actually arose on the basis of the 5 aggregates. So this misconception of the self to be a substantial real, as the solid substantial entity as a self, that misconception is known as the egoistic pride or the pride of the ego. Okay, what is next? Empty pride. Okay, empty pride is, say, I don't have clairvoyance. And I may, one time it did happen like this. Somebody came to me, there was several years ago, maybe I think 7 or 8 years ago, somebody came to me. And then we started having some chat. He came for some teaching by some other teachers. And then I said that you must read the biography of the great Saint Joseph Marpa. Just this morning he thought about reading this biography of Joseph Marpa. He was so shocked. He said that, do you have clairvoyance? I said, why? This is exactly what I thought this morning and you are saying now. It is totally accidental. And now, because it so coincided, accidentally it coincided, and then I may have an empty pride. Oh, I have clairvoyance. This is known as empty pride. A quality which you don't have and you think you have. Then on this basis, you have an inflation coming in your mind. This is known as empty pride. Okay. What's next? Pride of inferior. Can anyone guess what this pride is? This is interesting. Huh? I'm hopeless. This is not really pride. This is feeling demoralized, right? It's not really pride. Okay, anyone who can get. This was the discussion we had as a part of my studies, the Geshe studies. So in fact, the 7 classes of the arrogance, the pride, is not really discussed during this level of the class in the Monastic universities. Only studied in maybe the 15th, 16th year, like this. But not because that it is complicated. It so happens that it becomes a part. So I extracted it from the Abhidhamma Kosh. Abhidhamma Kosh is studied only at a very late stage. Okay, can anyone guess what this is? This was the huge discussion we had. Yes?
It's not sometimes like humbug, like you are always positioning yourself as being extremely humble and all, but within that you have a great sense that I'm like.
No, sorry. This also happened to be one of the discussions in our class. Okay, this is interesting. Yes?
Right, sometimes we see some people saying, I'm sick, I'm very sick, I'm very bad. So they're enjoying to be sick.
I see, okay. Okay. Yeah, that's enjoying to be sick. Enjoying to be inferior?
Yeah, enjoying to be inferior.
Oh, you're inferior to me? Oh, yes, I am. Who will say this? I don't think anybody will say this. The sick, yes. Because, because this label, the person is exempted from doing so many other attending classes. Yeah. So oftentimes I also feel like this. Not oftentimes, sometimes. When I feel so busy, sometimes when I get 1 day off after like 10, 15, 1 month like this, 1 day off, I feel that I can do my personal practice so effectively. Then I realize, I should become sick sometimes. Yeah. Okay, so this, perhaps we may not be able to guess it. So it is like this. Say, there is someone who is doing so good, wealth-wise, or education-wise, or physical appearance, very famous. And then, or say a player, tennis player, or football player, but whatever. Someone is very famous, maybe your classmate, one time you were colleagues, but the other person becomes so popular, and then your name is totally unheard of, that person's name is coming everywhere. And then you, in the course of discussion with some other people, you may say, okay, I'm a little inferior to her, I'm a little inferior to him, I'm a little inferior, which means I'm as great, but who is very popular now, he or she does not really deserve to be that popular, right? Or otherwise I should be equally there, but unfortunately somehow my name is not coming there. Otherwise I'm equally there. The pride is there. Seeing so inferior, meaning I'm inferior to this person slight inferior. Just I'm less by a very small degree. Otherwise I'm equal. This is the pride. Okay, what is next? Pride of wrong view. Okay, this is extremely important. Oftentimes, this is what happens with some people, and very dangerous also. This can happen to anyone, even amongst the believers, even amongst the Buddhist believers can happen. Okay, say it is wrong view meaning, for example, the analogy that I gave. For example, say animal sacrifice. With animal sacrifice, you will get wealth. There are some philosophical positions. There are some theological positions. The religious texts mention about these things. Engaging in animal sacrifice will bring you wealth. Engaging in animal sacrifice will bring you longevity, long life. Engaging in animal sacrifice will remove your hindrances, sickness. These wrong views are there. And oftentimes attached with, say, in Tibet, for example, the shamanism. the pre-Buddhist one part. Now, say the Pembo tradition, there are two. There are two. One which is so ritualistic and one which is very refined. The one that you find in Simla, Solan, is very refined. It's so good. It's very good. We cannot really, say disparage the Pembo. Oh, this Pembo is not Buddhist. No, this is not something to be like that. It's amazing. You go there, you just be with them, you see what they are doing. Amazing. Study philosophy, psychology, all these things are amazing. But there's another category of Pembo, another category which is purely ritualistic, which simply believes in the, say, very much like the olden shamanistic, the shamanism, olden shamanism, believing in the natural elements, earth, fire, water as the god, as the whatever, and then say believing in the animal sacrifice and so forth. So that part is there. So now the Tibetans, although we have inherited Buddhism since 7th century AD, but then the traces of the ritualistic, shamanistic practice is still with us, and even today, some people may misguide others that nowhere you see in the Buddhist texts, but somehow inherited from word of mouth, the say inheritance, belief that with this, if you in this, according to this, then if you perform this animal sacrifice, then all of your obstacles will disappear. Then your health will improve, and so forth. This is just terrible. It's terrible. This is total misconception and a clear indication of the lack of the knowledge of the real dharma. And then, in relation to tantra, say believing that we need to do this kind of puja, which involves this kind of this animal thing, this is all just terrible. Okay, so therefore, these are all the same arrogance that this practice. For example, one example would be, say, animal sacrifice. This will take us to salvation. This will take us to nirvana. This will take us to to removal of your illness, obstacles, and so forth. Such a belief, and then you very strongly believe, yes, this is right. Others are wrong. Animal sacrifice, animal sacrifice is negative karma. If you say this, no, this is wrong. I know what it is. So this kind of arrogance on the basis of wrong view, that is very dangerous. It's so harmful to the others and very harmful to oneself. And then likewise, say on this basis, then say, okay, say just in the name of religion, just killing others who do not belong to your category. This is the greatest service to your dharma. This is a total belonging to this category. The pride of wrong view. Very unfortunate. Okay, so this we see how to get it off. Okay, now next is doubt. Doubt, deluded, indecisive, wavering. Doubt. So doubt, again we have to qualify this with afflictive doubt. Pride is fine. Pride, generally speaking, pride is seen as very negative, and anger is negative. Attachment or desire sometimes can be seen as positive, desire for Buddhahood, desire to help others, and so forth. So here we qualify that with afflictive desire. Likewise, afflictive doubt. So the doubt, which is being in two minds about reality, usually leads to negative actions in two minds, meaning that say the world, is it impermanent or permanent? Okay, say the two choices. Now your mind may say, I'm not too sure. It may be permanent. or it may be impermanent. I'm not too sure. Say half-half, 50-50. So this is the one class of the doubt. Doubt, the same in the middle. Doubt in the middle of the two sides. And the other side, oh, very likely it is permanent. Because I see that this body never died since the time of birth till now. It never died. So how can I say that it's impermanent? So very likely it's permanent, right? Say if you look at Mount Everest, unless one studies the geography and how all these mountains they come into being through they coming together of the continents closer over the millions of years, then the two sides collapsing, two sides they join and they collide, and then they just rise up in the form of mountains. If you have not studied these things, then Mount Everest, it has been from ages. So when will you go like this? You look at it. It was the same yesterday, the same today. It will go on like this endlessly. It's permanent. Okay, these kind of thoughts can happen. And then, if you think that very likely it is permanent, very likely it's permanent. Very likely means you are not 100%. You are not 100% saying that it is permanent, but your mind is tilted towards the distortion. So the doubt with the doubt in the middle of the two sides, one, and the doubt tilted towards the negative, and the doubt tilted towards the positive. Or maybe it is impermanent, because the ones I remember having studied in geography class, in the class, about how the big mountains they come into being through the collision of the two pieces of land. So it may be impermanent, may be very likely impermanent, which means it is not decisive. It is a doubtful state, but tilted towards the doubt, tilted towards the fact. Okay, so there are three doubts. Okay, now of the three doubts, say doubt tilted towards the fact. Tilted towards the fact can be virtuous. Tilted towards the fact can be virtuous, but the doubt tilted towards the negative, tilted towards the distortion, that is purely destructive or afflictive. Then number 6, wrong view. Wrong views based on emotional afflictions distinguished in 5 types. So wrong view is, as I said earlier, is cognitive in nature. It does not wrong view per se. Wrong view per se is not it does not have this sense of adherence, or it does not have the sense of affinity. Wrong view per se. Wrong view is like the knowledge which when used, this can make you to behave in a very destructive way. So for example, animal sacrifice will take you to liberation. Right? If this is the wrong view, then on this basis, then you believe that to be true and then you act accordingly. The moment you start acting on the basis of this principle, then it will ruin you. It will ruin others, it will ruin us. So it will take us to destroy ourselves and engage in negative karmas. So there are 5 of these kinds. Okay. Now the 5 are, the next page, the view of perishable collection, the view, there's jikta, in Tibetan is jikta, the view of extremes, tarta, distorted view, lokta, wrong view of the supremacy of the view, tawa chokzen, wrong view of the supremacy of the morality and conduct, tsuldim tushu chokzen. Okay, so 5 views. So it is so helpful to learn all these things, and if possible, we learn that the 5 divisions of the view on fingertips. Okay, first one, view of the perishable collection. Says that, perishable collection means what we are just a collection of the 5 aggregates. We are the collection of the 5 aggregates. And 5 aggregates, they are perishable, or they disintegrate, or they are permanent phenomena. They disintegrate, which means they are perishable. Perishable meaning the first moment does not last. It dies and the next moment is given rise to. That is the meaning of the perishable. So the view of perishable collection, we are nothing but a collection of the perishable 5 aggregates. On the basis of this, now the wrong view comes. What wrong view? You see, on the basis of this, you create a sense of self, a solidified self. Or technically speaking, it creates a sense of, say, according to the lower schools, Prasangika. When I say lower schools, I'll keep Prasangika aside. Unless I specify keeping Madhyamika aside. Keep Prasangika aside. The rest, usually with the study of psychology, the rest fall into one category, the lower schools. And the Prasangika separate. So here the lower schools, view of perishable collection, according to them, is on the basis of these 5 perishable aggregates, collection of the 5 perishable aggregates, then one creates a sense of I. How many of us here create this sense of I on the basis of these 5 aggregates? Okay, if one doesn't create that, for sure you will not come to this class. Right? Okay, maybe some of you might not have it, and particularly to see how this teaching is happening, how the program is happening, right? You may come for that purpose. Otherwise, most of us here, if not 100%, come here because we have this, right? Seeing the 5 aggregates, collection of the 5 aggregates, the perishable 5 aggregates are there. On this basis, we create a sense of self, which is autonomous, substantial reality. Autonomous, substantial entity. We create a sense of self, which is autonomous nature and substantial nature and autonomous substantial entity. So such a self is created. In actuality, such a self does. Autonomous means autonomous with respect to the 5 aggregates. Substantially something is there as autonomous, right? Okay, independent of the 5 aggregates. Okay, just let us think about the self. I. How does this I appear to you? Just see. Do you know who you are? You know so well, right? Now see how this I appears to you. This I appears as the aggregates, the bodies, or this I appears as the mind. Oh no. There's a separate I there. How does it appear? Just see. Let's think for say 5 seconds. Okay, tell me, is it like just purely the mechanical body, or purely the mind, or something different, which is so nice? Huh? How does it appear? Something different. Okay, so generally speaking, in a loose sense, how this I appears to a mind is as autonomous, substantial entity from the point of view of the lower schools. From the point of view of the Prasangika, it appears as, generally speaking, it appears as objectively real, generally speaking. Okay, so this is known as the view of perishable collection, number 1. Number 2, view of the extremes. View of the extremes meaning you see the self either as permanent or as totally non-existent. The 2 extremes, so nihilism or absolutism. Nihilism is seeing the self as non-existent. For example, seeing the self as non-existent when? Particularly when somebody dies. Right? People who commit suicide. And in fact, so many people, they don't believe in rebirth. Which means after the death, the self disappears. They fall into nihilism. That the self becomes non-existent after death. This is nihilism. And people who commit suicide. Out of desperation. So there, it is the belief that once I discard the self, then the problem comes to an end, and then self disappears. When the self disappears, when I remove the self by committing suicide, then there's no self who bears the pain. So therefore, the pain also comes to an end. But this is all because of the nihilism, believing that the self will terminate altogether after the death of this life. But in actuality, no, the self continues. So these fall in the category of the view of the extremes. Now, on the other hand, those who are happy with this life, then, oh, this self is permanent. This self, then say, for example, we buy shoes which can last for 1,000 years, and the self doesn't last for 1,000 years. And also we think of, okay, all the things. Okay, now with this, it doesn't mean that discard all the good things that you have. It doesn't mean that, right? So the house that you have, the cars that you have, or whatever you have. And the best thing is the mobiles. This is amazing. The mobile factories, they tell us that a mobile is impermanent. This is amazing. Every 6 months people have to change it. This is amazing. We have to be very thankful to the factories, mobile factories, companies. It's so good to tell us that mobile is impermanent. Okay, there are so many things to mention about this. Finally, sensible people can easily get frustrated, come to know that there's no point in giving the 7 plus iPhone 7 plus. There's no point. Again, 8 plus will come, right? It's just total headache, total waste of energy, total waste of time. Always thinking about it. Again, what you have becomes again old-fashioned, right? Okay. So this is otherwise. For example, the house, the cars, and so forth. Even there's a scratch there on the car. Oh, there's a scratch on the heart. Yeah, right? So these all indicate that we have a sense of a permanent self. Permanent self. This is very strong in us. Permanent self. And because there's a permanent self, the things of utility should be also permanent. Things of utility should be also permanent, right? Okay. So whereas if you come to know that I'm impermanent, and people around me, they're also impermanent. House in which I live is also impermanent. Even the cars, the mobiles, whatever I have, they're all impermanent. Even the information, now is mostly the information. Even the information is also impermanent, right? For example, all the information that you put in about your, so say your facts about the Aadhaar card, your identity card, your certificates, and the bank account, all these things, if you don't know, you're not good in the numbers, then you put them in a safe, right? And then this can disappear. And then you may, on my mobile, even the mobile also gets, one day it does not operate anymore, all the information get lost there. On a computer also get lost, hacked, or the virus. And then you make the Google search, even the Google search is also not reliable, right? Okay, so with this, we see there's nothing really reliable there. All composite things are impermanent, right? Whereas on the contrary, we have the view of the extreme, that I'm impermanent and everything should be impermanent. No, I'm permanent and everything should be permanent. This is the cause of the major cause of all our unnecessary problems. All unnecessary problems. Particularly when we reach the age like say 30, 40 plus, then we just hear, constantly we hear about the death of my friend, death of this person, death of this. When you're like 20s, before 20, your exposure to the world is not as much. Now, 30, 40, your exposure to the world, you become more and more connected with more and more people, whether you're near ones or enemies. The enemies also increase. And the close connection, the number expands. On that basis, then you come to see that, and your age group, they reach like age 40, 50, and people who are kind towards you, who are your supervisors, they're age 60, 70, this died, that died, this died, that died. Impermanence is so obvious there, So whereas, before actually the impermanence strikes us, before that strikes us, it would be wonderful if you can reflect on this. Okay, now this is happening there, this is happening there, and I'm also impermanent. So, nobody wants to die. But, even if I don't die, then what should I do? Should I remain always 20 years old? I cannot. I like to, but I cannot. Which if I don't die, then I'll become 30. Still, if I don't die, I become 40. Then slowly I become 60. Then slowly I become 80. Still, if I don't die, then I become 90. Still, if I don't die, then become 100. Still, if I don't, then 101, 2. And who can live up to 120, 130, 140? Right? 140, then it's impossible. Right? So then, what happens? Then, say, either we have to die, or we have to live in such a desperation, such a challenge. You cannot see, you cannot hear, even your mind doesn't work. If you reach age like 120, 130, right? So what I'm saying is that this is not confined to people who are above 40, above 50, above 60. It's with everyone. It's with everyone. It is as though like we are in a park. We're in a wild park where there are the deers and the leopard. Right? And the deer, I don't know the longevity of Ajit, do you have any idea how long the deers live? Anyone? Okay, let's say like 10 years. Let's say 10 years. Whole 10 years the deers, they have to live in fear. Because you live in the same area shared by the leopards and the lions. Right? Every time. And it's just a matter of time. The moment, and while you are strong, you can run. You may escape from the leopards. And slowly, your body will collapse. Your body will degenerate. Then your speed you cannot run as fast as when you were young. And then the tigers, lions, always there is the new, the younger ones are coming. They will catch you one day. This is how we live. It's not just with one person there who is now becoming old. No, we are just in the same plot of land shared with the tigers, tiger of impermanence of death. If you think like this, then when we see somebody dying, then that should be a big lesson for us that I'm also one day going to be like this. I'm also going to be one like that. Then on that basis, you remind ourselves of our impermanence. With this then, impermanence, whatever I have now, I have to leave everything. Including, I aspire for this much of wealth, this much of the good house, or whatever aspiration that you might have. Work on all these things, and suddenly you die. I have to leave everything. Whether you accomplish, not accomplish, I have to leave everything. Then what's the point? Then what will really help of the pursuit, investment of the time, energy, resources? What can I take? Nothing. So what can really help me go there? That I'm not emphasizing. So this impermanence will remind us that what are the things to which I should give the priority? What are less important? What are more important? And so because I have this body, I have to work to take care of this body. At the same time, after death, the next journey is also there. I will also take care of that. So by remembering impermanence, this will make sure that we become a complete person who not only who is someone not obsessed with this life alone, but also looking for meaning for the future lives. This is very important, very important. Okay, so the impermanence, reflecting on the impermanence, this is extremely important. And then, as I said earlier, the earliest, the practitioners, the saint scholars, they always reflect on when we see someone else dying, then you apply this to yourself. One day, a news will come that this person is also gone. 100%, it will come. So this is how we should. Then we become more realistic. Then when it happens, the pain and the anxiety is much less. You are very ready. There's no fear in us. And the fear of death is so painful, amazingly, is so overwhelmingly painful. Okay, so in fact I remember, amazingly great scholar. I was very fortunate. I was in my 20s and he must be already in his 60s. And because of his son, I became very close to him. And then when two of us go together to escort him, and he would advise me in a very skilled way. Not like I'm advising you, listen to this advice, not like this. He was just sharing, just a sharing. And then later on, I realized that these are all advice that he was actually giving in a very skillful way. What he was to tell me was that in one monastery, there was one monk, and his name was Dawa. So during the debates, the three premises, the topic, the predicate, the reasons, whether the reason qualified the predicate, and so forth. With all these debates going there, whenever the opponent asked him to cite a syllogism, to create a syllogism on the basis of impermanence, then he would create the syllogism that Dawa as the topic is impermanent because he is transitory. He always gives the example, not an external object. He will always give the example of himself. Dawa as the topic is impermanent because he is transitory. This is a clear indication. This great scholar, he told me, this is a clear indication that this monk Dawa, since his time of the studies, he was practicing actual engagement to very sophisticated practice of impermanence. Okay, so this is a very helpful piece of advice for me. And then I remember myself as the student in Tepunglosin Monastery. There, from a small group, the whole monastery is divided into, I think, 25 houses. There's a small house to which I belong to. And then one of the very elder monks was hospitalized. And then there was one senior monk from the same group who was residing in America. He came to the monastery for a short visit. And I was escorting him. And the very elderly monk, he was hospitalized. And this monk, he was also very senior. He must be then in his 60s. And the very elderly one was maybe late 70s, and he was hospitalized almost the last phase of his life. And the monk from America, he came, and he was also elderly. He was the senior. And I escorted him. And then he was giving some advice to the monk who was passing away. Not to worry. Think about the source of refuge, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Think about His Holiness. Think about the Buddha. This kind of advice he was given. And now I reflect back in time. So this very senior monk who was hospitalized, he already passed away. And the monk who advised him, consoled him, he also passed away. Now I, who was listening to this monk, he will also pass away one day. Now those who are listening here, probably younger than me, younger ones, right, who listen to the story of someone sharing about another monk, advising or counseling, consoling another monk, we are all impermanent, we are all in the same boat, right? So this is extremely helpful. Okay, if you can think like this, then if you think too overtly on this subject, then it may overwhelm us. But I don't see any danger there. So this will happen only if somebody sits in retreat. If not 24/7, at least like 10, 12 hours, reflecting on the impermanence of death. Then this problem may arise that the person can be overwhelmed by this pain of the pending death. Okay, so for such situation, then we really need to be helped. We really need to be skilled how to balance, give a balance. That the reflection is happening there, that the reflection should speed our meditation, speed the practice of the Dharma, and it should not hamper the Dharma. And then you become overwhelmed, then you become burnout, then you can't do anything, you don't want to, then you don't see that I can't do anything now, I have no energy left, it's just overwhelmingly painful, just you're crushed under this pain, you can't do anything. That's also not constructive. So we should we should know how to maintain balance. Overall speaking, it is so crucial, it is so important for us to reflect on impermanence. Okay, this is with respect to B, the view of the extremes. Number 3, the distorted view. Distorted view is, particularly this one, distorted view. Generally speaking, all the other views are also distorted views. Generally speaking. The first one, the view of the perishable collection, the view of the extremes. Then the fourth one, the view of the supremacy of the view. Number 5, the view of the supremacy of the morality and the conduct. So all these fall under what is known as distorted. They are all distorted view. But the distorted view as one of the subsets under the wrong views. So that is the distorted view pertaining to the law of karma. Distorted view pertaining to the law of karma. Distorted view which does not believe, which defy the law of karma. Oh, what is the aim? If you do something bad, what is the aim? So who knows that this will give rise to bad negative consequence? It's just the stories cooked by some people. So this kind of the belief is the view is known as distorted view. A distorted view pertaining to law of karma. So therefore, law of karma, the more we respect the law of karma, the more we see the efficacy of the law of karma, the greater, and in fact, the more we think about the efficacy of the karma, that's very true. So karma is really efficacious, it's so real there. If you do something negative, negative will come about. We can't escape. If you do something good, good will happen. That's 100% sure. The more you incline yourself towards this conviction in the efficacy of the law of karma, it is said that so much of our negative karmas can be purified. In fact, most of the negative karmas that we engage in intentionally, particularly those involved, those negative karmas which we engaged in intentionally, were on the belief, on the belief, or on the view, on your supposition that the law of karma does not hold true. Right? This is what happens. So whereas if we think about the efficacy of the law of karma more often, I cannot escape from the law of karma. Law of karma is what determines the whole universe. So that the more you see the efficacy of the law of karma, and you study more about how the karma operates, and the workings of the karma, divisions of karma, so these all you will see very clearly explicated in, of course, later on, when we study Abhidhamma course, of course, I don't know which year, 2nd year, or 3rd year, or 4th year, Abhidhamma course, there, chapter 4 is exclusively on karma. It's an amazing text, a chapter on karma, and this all came from, it's just like a compendium, the collection, the putting together of the teachings on karma by which the Buddha himself taught. They were put together in this chapter 4, by Acharya Vasubandhu. It's an amazing text. Otherwise, what I would say is that if we, the detailed explanation of karma, you will find in the book 1, volume 1 of Lama Tsongkhapa's 3 volumes. Lamrim. There are 3 volumes in English, 3 volumes. The first volume has all the details of the karma. And the more we study the karma, the more the conviction that you gain in the effects of the karma, innumerable negative karmas are going to be cleansed. This is amazing, I think, because as I said earlier, because the more you gain conviction in the law of karma, then the more you comply with how the karma operates. Then the more you comply with this, the foundation, disbelief in karma, defying karma, will be shattered. So what defies karma, the disbelief in the efficacy of karma, so what is all stacked or piled up or constructed on that will all shatter. That is known as the purification of the negative karmas happening. This is so precious. Okay. Oftentimes people ask His Holiness or the others that what's the best thing? Always looking for what's the best, what's the most efficient, like this, right? So in actuality, what's the best thing which can help us to build a house? The brick, or the window, or the steel? No, all are required. Likewise for cleansing of the negative karmas. 4 powers mentioned. The regret over having done the negative karmas. This is so important, number 1. Then number 2 is the basis. Basis in terms of the refuge, in terms of sentient beings. Say, taking refuge in the 3 jewels. Taking refuge in 3 jewels. Because all the negative karmas somehow connected, somehow accumulated, related to the 3 jewels, all the sentient beings. Anger and so forth to sentient beings, and then disregarding the advice of the enlightened beings, and so forth. So negative karmas are accumulated, related to the enlightened beings or the 3 jewels, or the sentient beings. So pertaining to the 3 jewels, to reinforce your conviction in 3 jewels, then taking refuge in 3 jewels, and then pertaining to sentient beings, you building, meditating on compassion, meditating on bodhicitta, pertaining to sentient beings. So these two are known as the basis, the factor of the basis, Okay, the power of the basis. One is the power of the regret. Number 2 is the power of the basis. Number 3 is the power of the antidote. Power of the antidote, meaning, say, after doing these 2 things, then say reflecting more on karma, reflecting more on efficacy of the karma, how the karmic operation is so true. We cannot defy it. If you take the poison, even if you say that, oh, this poison will not harm you, it will kill you. Whether you say that it will kill you or it will not, whether you say it will not kill you, in any way it will kill you. So this is efficacy. The more you gain conviction in the efficacy of the karma, this is also one remedy. And another very powerful remedy is all karmas are triggered by, all contaminant karmas, negative karmas are triggered by, finally at the basis, ignorance. And if you shatter the ignorance, then what is stacked on top of that will all crush, will all crumble on their own. So all the negative karmas, they're all built up on the foundation of this self-grasping ignorance. So how to crush this ignorance is by reflecting on wisdom of emptiness. So therefore, meditate on emptiness exclusively for the purification of the negative karmas. That is also one antidote. And then say the bodhicitta. All these contaminant karmas, negative karmas, particularly negative karmas, they are somehow connected with this self-centered attitude. And the counterforce of self-centered attitude is bodhicitta. And meditating bodhicitta exclusively to purify the negative karmas, that is again very powerful, because by meditating on bodhicitta, then the self-centered attitude is crushed. And self-centered attitude is the foundation, one of the 2 main foundations for all the negative karmas. So when the foundation is crushed, then all what is stacked on top of that will crumble on their own. So applying the respective remedies. Now, these 2 as the main practice for purification. Then you design this practice with Vajrasattva meditation. With these 2 things as the fabric of the practice. Bodhicitta and the wisdom of emptiness, and impermanence also. And negative karmas, again we see that many of them are accumulated with the belief that things should be permanent, impermanent. So reflecting on impermanence, reflecting on emptiness, reflecting on bodhicitta. So there, with these 3 things as a fabric, then you incorporate this in the form of the Vajrasattva practice. So in other words, the Vajrasattva practice, with these 3 things as the fabric, amazing purification will happen. Okay. So this is pertaining to the distorted view, number C. Then number D, wrong view of the supremacy of the view. Supremacy of the view, and the next one is the wrong view of the supremacy of the morality. Supremacy of the view, number D, and number E is supremacy of the morality and the content. Okay, first one, supremacy of the view. Say, say there are two philosophies. One says that say that the self is permanent. Other one says that self is impermanent. Right? Self is permanent and self is impermanent. Or one says that animal sacrifice will take you towards liberation. And the second principle says that animal sacrifice will take you away from liberation. It will create more miseries on you. And then if you are somehow connected with the first philosophy, the first system, by birth, or somehow connection with some teachers, and then who in turn is connected with this kind of system, then you slowly become somehow attached, somehow adhered to that philosophy. The animal sacrifice will give you rise to longevity. And this is quite often, but to enlightenment is very rare. Real philosophy, concrete philosophy is there, but day-to-day practice-wise, that animal sacrifice will remove your obstacles, will give you longevity, will give you long life. This is very prominent in the various communities. Very unfortunately, it's very prominent. It's very common. Okay, so, and one says that animal sacrifice will create more miseries on you. And the first one says that no, animal sacrifice will remove your miseries, will remove your obstacles, give longevity, give wealth to you. Okay, true. And then, if you believe in the first one, and says that the first one is supreme, the first view which says that animal sacrifice will give you longevity, will give good luck and these things, that view is supreme. That is the wrong view of the supremacy of a view. Right? Okay. Next one is the wrong view of the supremacy of the morality and conduct. Okay. Say, I don't know nowadays, but in the olden time, some of the practitioners, ardent practitioners, they practice samadhi, and through their samadhi they gain some, say, clairvoyance because of the single point of meditation. And in fact, particularly the ability to read others' minds, then seeing the past lives and so forth, that mainly happens connected with the single point of meditation. So with a single point of meditation, then some people, they're able to see their past lives. Depending on what depth of the samadhi that you went through, some can see once 2 past lives. Some can see like 7 past lives. Some can see like 10 past lives. And because of on that basis, they decide their own theories about the rebirth. Rebirth existed only 7 lives before what you are now. Before that, no rebirth. It was created by God. Right? The first one was created by God, then the first one died, and then the second one came into being. Like this, 7 rebirths were there before what is now. This kind of belief is there. Okay, so this is because this person is highly respected by his students or her students, and then he or she is not telling she is not telling lie. He or she could see the past lives, but because the samadhi is not full-fledged or let's say it's just to some extent, it has reached some level, but of course not fully, because of which one is able to see maybe like 7 past lives. On that basis, then the person may be also very eloquent and very expert in writing, very good in writing, composition may be so good, and start writing what? Theories, rebirth, okay. And then all the people, they see him as a divine God, the manifestation of God. And what he writes, the longer it takes, the longer the time passes, it becomes more and more valuable. It becomes the words of the God actually. Then if it is me, only 7 lives are there, only 7 past lives, right? Okay, and I was not telling lie. This is what I could see. This is not me. That person could see. So 7 lives. Before that, no. The first one was created by God, created by Brahma or whatever, and then the 7. And then those whose samadhi is deeper, they may see like 10 past lives. They will say, no, that is wrong. There are 10 lives. And then those followers will reject the other system. Other system will reject this system. So this is how it happened in the past. Okay. Now on that basis, some of them, they were just wondering, say, they see that, oh, now through the very refined meditation, the single-pointedness, the power of the single-pointedness has reached such a level of refinedness to the extent that like the water, when it becomes very stable, then you could see what is beneath, particularly when the water is very clean. When the turbulence is gone, slowly the turbulence is gone and the slowly it becomes very stable, then it becomes very clear. When it's very turbulent, you cannot see the bed. When the turbulence subsides, when it becomes very still, then you could see what is there beneath. So recently in Israel, I was sitting next, they took me to the restaurant next to the Mediterranean Ocean. And from the top I could see the ocean, just very close by. I was watching this and I was relating to some mind. And it was the ocean, and it was not really the coast, but I should say, at the edge of the ocean, not really it's not a beach, it's a very rough place. So there, it may be 5 feet or 6 feet, not deeper. So then as you go further away, it will become deeper. And then the water was so clean. I could see the bed down there. Whereas you go to some places, the water is so dirty, you cannot see. Even if it's like this, you cannot see what is beneath there. But over there, you could see the depth, you could see what is there, underneath there. It was very clearly. Then I was relating this to a mind. How a mind, when it becomes very placid, very single-pointed, the turbulence stops. Then it becomes the clarity of the best of the clarity of the mind will become manifest. Then what is inside, you can vividly see that. Okay, so with this, then what happens is that because the mind becomes very clear, very powerfully single-pointed, then what is subtly there, what is down there, becomes more and more visible, more and more visible as the water is cleaner, and as the water becomes more and more stable. Likewise, as the mind becomes more and more stable because of the samadhi practice, single-pointed meditation, then what is inside, the imprints, the subtler imprints becomes manifest to you. These imprints of what? When these imprints were laid, past lives. So you could see your past lives. Then depending on how much the turbulence is removed, how much the turbulence has subsided, to that extent you can see that number of the past lives. Because the further the past life, say 7 past lives, 8th one, 10th one, the imprints are subtler. So that way, the subtler your meditation, subtler the imprints you could see, more the number of the lifetimes you could see. Now on that basis, what happens is that, okay, I've taken human birth now. So this is a result of what? For sure this is a result of my actions, my karmas. Which karma? Karma which I did when? In my former life. In my former life as what? So, and they could see the former lives. In the former lives, through the samadhi practice, sometimes they may see themselves as having taken birth as, vultures. Immediate preceding life as vultures. And then, as a vulture, now this vulture died and now taken birth as a human being. So, what did this vulture do because the person could not see more past lives, right? So what was done by this vulture or the 7 lives within that? And then the person explores as to what did this vulture do so that I take this human birth. And human birth is a very positive, very desirable, wholesome birth. It's a desirable, wholesome birth. Wholesome birth means the cause must be very productive, the cause must be very positive. So what positive karma? That positive cause is known, should be the positive karma. What positive karma this vulture did so that this vulture now takes birth as a human being today. So what did it do? So the vultures, say like the dogs, they have the mating seasons, not 24, not like whole year, but there's a mating season. Likewise for the vultures, they also have some specific vulture mating season. So this person could predict from what the person had seen from the past, the samadhi, could see the vulture, and then as a vulture, and this vulture, because of remaining, say, the practice of the not being attached to the gender, opposite gender, for a few months, whatever. So abstaining from this gender attraction, that is a virtuous karma, which results in me taking birth as a human birth now. And then he starts jotting it down, saying that the conduct of the vultures remaining from the sexual interaction, so that is the cause of human birth. So that he writes down. Now that becomes, and then the students will follow that. Students will see that this is a very precious the teaching, and this teaching says that this wrong view is the view of the conduct, as to how to conduct yourself. So this conduct, which my teacher said, this is so precious, this is supreme. So this is known as number E, wrong view of the supremacy of the morality and conduct. Okay, so likewise, say the conduct of the dogs, conduct of the vultures, conduct of this animal, that animal, so forth. So many of those things were all seen written in the treatises of the past, the same people. Okay, so nowadays, how many people actually really study these things is so less. For example, these things happen mostly in India. Because India was the birthplace of so many philosophies, so many spiritual practices. Amazing place, amazing. At the same time, while it is amazing like ocean, it has so many beautiful fish and also crocodiles also there. Yeah, so many good things, bad things, all are there. So the spirituality is like the ocean of spirituality. Some brilliant things, like for example, say the Mahavir, amazing teacher, Mahavir, amazing practice of ahimsa. Just be with them, be with the genuine practitioners of the Jainism. Just be with them. You cannot imagine that these people will one day become terrorists. No way. Amazing practice like this. They're all these brilliant, amazing, the spiritualities evolved. In India, at the same time, they are, like these things are also there. And then how they started is not because of the ill will, because of the wrong, because of the desperate, the malice. No. It's all because they practice. Initial teachers, they practice. They were actual practitioners. They practice wholeheartedly the samadhi, all these practices. And finally, the conclusion they come up with, because it's very partial, it's very small, the result they achieve is also very small. And on that basis, but the followers, they see him in the light of the divinity, in the light of the God. And then what he says becomes so, what he or she says, not only he, becomes so like a divine words. So later on, if somebody says that this is wrong, you're going to go, then you threat to your life can also happen. So these are the problems. These are all included here. Okay. Denjula. Shila vaduri. Nibara. Okay. So now lunch break. We'll come back at 3. question answer we will. Oh yes, yes. This afternoon session is a different session. Okay, so maybe one or two questions. Quick. Yes, here.
Thank you, Geshe-la. Geshe-la, just a quick clarification again, going back to the first ignorance and Arya Sangha and Acharya Vasubandhu's views, and the last wrong view, especially part A, or the view of the perishable collection, and what would the difference be? A little bit more on that.
Say the ignorance according to Arya Sangha and Vasubandhu.
Yeah, if
One.
you could just clarify that again once, and then
No,
the
that is a separate question,
separate question.
and this is a separate question.
Yeah.
Okay.
But especially the wrong view arising from the view of perishable collection.
So not wrong view.
R6A.
It is not the wrong view arising from. It is the wrong view of perishable collection. This is a technical term. Wrong view of perishable collection. Okay. To make it very quick, let's say the Arya Asanga's version of ignorance and Acharya Vasubandhu's version of the ignorance. Arya Asanga's version of the ignorance is more pervasive, is more comprehensive. I wouldn't use the word comprehensive. I would use more pervasive. Comprehensive has a connotation. Other one is less. No, other one is so brilliant. In fact, the other one will help us to precisely know what is at the core of all our miseries. Other one. Whereas the Arya Asanga's version will help us understand this as well as another angle. But the other one, Acharya Vasubandhu's version, is precisely to identify what is that ignorance responsible for all our miseries. Okay, so Arya Asanga's version incorporates two. Ignorance incorporates two sides. One is the mere absence of knowledge, and the other one is the distortion of the knowledge also. Because the distortion of knowledge has the absence of knowledge, it doesn't have the knowledge. Right? When you say that I am, my body is permanent, this is distortion of reality. And it is also absent of knowledge, because it does not know that it is impermanent. Right? So, the absence of knowledge in general and the distortion of the knowledge both come under ignorance according to Arya Sangha. Whereas Acharya Vasubandhu, only the distortion of the reality, directly in opposition to how is apprehended by the wisdom. So that ignorance, that distortion is known as ignorance. Simply the mere absence of the knowledge without the distortion is not counted as ignorance pertaining to Acharya Vasubandhu. Okay. And then the view of perishable collection means the wrong view, on the basis of the collection of the 5 perishable aggregates, perishable collection. Okay, on the basis of the collection of the 5 perishable aggregates, then one creates a concept, one creates a sense of self, which is autonomous, substantial, real. So that is known as, view of perishable collection. According to lower schools, according to Prasangika, we have to know both. Then later on, say in any ways, whether you follow the lower schools, whether you follow the Prasanga views, it doesn't matter. Eventually, we see that both what Prasangika says, what lower schools say, both are there within us. Both levels of the ignorance are within us. So if you know both, then this is very helpful to tease apart which is which. And then accordingly, when you eradicate one, and then if you see that what did I eradicate? Did I really get the emptiness of the self, as Prasangika says? Then you eradicate one, and still something is left there, which is actually said by the Prasangika. What you negated earlier does not conform to what is posited by Prasangika. So that way is very helpful. That is for us to know both. So they're creating a sense of self on the basis of the collection of the 5 perishable aggregates, creating a sense of self which is autonomous, substantial reality. This is the view of perishable collection according to those schools. And then according to Prasangika, on the basis of the collection of the five perishable aggregates, one considers the sense of self, which is objectively real, which is inherently real. That is the view of perishable collection. Okay, maybe, yes, last question?
Geshe-la, how to distinguish the doubt in the sixth root afflictions from the doubting consciousness in the sevenfold division? One, and I'm having a little bit difficulty understanding this mental factor of ignorance as a cognitive,
Not cognitive, as affective.
as a
Very good question. Okay. The first one is, these are the things that we need to discuss in the discussion forum. Right? For example, doubt in the context of the seven divisions of the mind, doubt in the context of the six root afflictions. Right? Okay. So make it very quick. Doubt in the sense of doubt in the context of the seven divisions of mind, that is doubt in general. Doubt in general. Say, doubt. Oh, very likely. What about the person? The self is impermanent, permanent. Very likely it is impermanent. I'm sorry, I cannot give the full answer, but it's very likely impermanent. I learned it from Tibet House. Or I learned it from somewhere, that it is impermanent. 20 years ago I learned it when you were already, say, 2040. 2040, you go back in time. Oh, 20 years ago, somewhere, I think in Tibet House, I learned that self is the impermanent, right? So there, very likely means it is doubt. But this doubt comes under the seven divisions of mind, but it doesn't come under the doubt of the afflictive doubt. Afflictive doubt should be that very likely it is permanent. It should be tilted towards the distortion, tilted more towards the distortion, right? That is this is difference. But what we can say is that the doubt now, your job is to explore the relationship. The doubt in the context of the seven divisions of mind and the doubt in the context of the sixth root afflictions. What's the relationship? Contradictory, synonymous, three-mode, four-mode, your job. Your job. Your job, it is your job, okay, in the discussion forum. And then somebody will attack you, you have to defend it. Okay, maybe last question.
the ignorance part.
Yes, over the what ignorance? Okay, how the ignorance? Okay, this is a good question. Okay, this is a good question. In fact, of the view and non-view, right? Now, technically, say the first five fall under the non-view, and the sixth one is the view, right? Okay, let's say like this. Now, there's many ways of distinguishing the two things: view and the non-view versus the view and the opposite of the view, like ignorance and the wisdom, and ignorance and non-ignorance. Right? You're getting it? Wisdom. Okay, let's say wisdom. What is the opposite of wisdom? Okay. Who said ignorance? Raise hands. What is the opposite of wisdom? Who said ignorance? Raise hands. Not half, full. Okay. Anyone else who likes to give a different answer? What is the opposite of wisdom? Self-grasping, ignorance, wisdom. There are so many kinds of wisdom, right? Said the wisdom to know the aesthetics, the wisdom of aesthetics. This is also wisdom, but the opposite of this is not the self-grasping, right? So wisdom in general. What is the opposite of wisdom of? What is the opposite of the wisdom? Lack of knowledge. Right? Absence of knowledge, or lack of wisdom, lack of knowledge. Lack of knowledge is vast. Within lack of knowledge, the ignorance also falls under there. Ignorance is one part of that. So, wisdom versus lack of wisdom versus ignorance. You getting it? Wisdom versus ignorance is also one way of seeing the opposites. Wisdom versus the lack of wisdom is also another version of ignorance, another version of opposites. You getting it? Which is more pervasive, lack of wisdom or the ignorance? Lack of wisdom, right? Now, likewise, ignorance, say wisdom of emptiness, and what is the counter force? Self-grasping ignorance or the absence of the wisdom of emptiness. Both are true. So, absence of wisdom of emptiness, that is closer towards Arya Asanga's version of the ignorance, and self-grasping ignorance is closer to Acharya Vasubandhu's exposition. You getting it? This is how we need to make distinction. Likewise, when we say view and the non-view, ignorance falls under the non-view, right? Ignorance falls under the non-view. View and the non-view. View is to see, to discern things, right? And the non-view is the inactivity of the discernment, inactivity of the discrimination, just making the distinctions, inactivity. The view and the non-view. View and the non-view. The view is discern, or to say that this is it, this is not it, whether correctly or incorrectly, it doesn't matter, right? Yes, you are permanent, don't worry. You learn in Tibet, it's impermanent, it's not true. You're permanent, yes, you know. You can plan everything, right? There's no life, you're permanent. There's no formal next life. You're permanent. Okay. So this view, this is, although it gives a wrong information, but it decides. It is very decisive, trying to give information. Whether it's correct information, wrong information, it doesn't matter. It says that you are this, you are not this. Taking decisions. Okay. So that is the view. That's the view. Non-view is that element, that part of the mental factor which lacks that element. For example, say attachment. Attachment says, I like it. It does not say that this is beautiful, this is not beautiful. This is beautiful, this is not beautiful, this is helpful, this is not helpful. This is already judged earlier. Then your mind is pulled. That is the meaning of I like it. You're getting it? Okay. So, in other words, the mental factor of discrimination, the views, they fall under the category of the mental factor of discrimination. Right? Whereas non-views, including ignorance, particularly as what Arya Sangha said, absence of knowledge, with the dullness there, with the element of dullness. Say, for example, when you feel so tired, and you close your eyes, what happens? Then the dullness sinks in. So there, the knowledge, the freshness of the mind disappears. That is described as ignorance according to Arya Asanga. Right? Okay. So the more needs to be done. And now, interestingly, there are more discussions. For example, along with the wrong views, ignorance is always there. Along with the wrong views, ignorance is always there. Now, what is the first wrong view? The view of perishable collection. Now, according to Acharya Vasubandhu, the view of perishable collection, which is the self-grasping ignorance. That is the ignorance. According to Acharya Vasubandhu. According to Arya Asanga, it is not. Now, how would you distinguish the ignorance and the view of perishable collection according to Acharya Vasubandhu? So, then ignorance counted as a non-view and the view of perishable collection as counted as a view. How would you distinguish the two according to Acharya Vasubandhu? Because the first one, which comes under the view, that is ignorance, and ignorance falls under the non-view. Now, how would you distinguish the two things? this is a very important discussion that must be happening in the discussion forum. Okay, the last question if somebody has. Okay, then, good. We will quickly do an dedication prayer because the afternoon session is a different session. Okay, let's turn to page 309. Page 309. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind of full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge to the Triple Gem. I confess the negativities individually. I rejoice in the virtues of all the beings. I hold the precious Buddha in my heart. As long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. The path of the union of emptiness and compassion is loosely explained by the protector of the Dharma and the beings of the snow land. You are the lotus holder Tenzin Gyatso. We supplicate you that your wishes are fulfilled spontaneously. May the operations of evil thoughts and deeds of the negative forces of humans or non-humans who harbor malice through perverted prayers against the teachings of the Buddhas be totally vanquished through the power of the truth of the three jewels. Throughout my future lifetimes, may I always be guided by Ram and Jushri and be able to uphold the Dharma in general and the teachings of independent origination in particular, even at the cost of my life.